And then at that first appointment, what am I going to give them? Because it might not be a prescription for a medication. It might not be a prescription for a herbal mix or a tablet or whatever it is. It might be a dietary prescription. The majority of my people get a dietary prescription at the first appointment. And paperwork to fill out, that so that they've got homework, so that because I've got the homework of them. They've just come and given me, they've just, verbally brain dumped everything in a 40-minute period. And so then I've got all of that stuff to go through, figure out. I might have to look at the medications that they're on in relation to supplements, because we don't want any contraindications happening. It's why it's important for them to see us in the first place. All of these things. So I'm working out all of these things. So I've got my homework. So I give them homework so that the next time I see them, they're feeling really invested in their change. They're really feeling really invested in their future health. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, and welcome back to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How are you? How are things going with you this year? How's your organisation, your online systems? How is your flow? So we had the webinar the other night on the 7th, and it was great. Loads of really good chatter and conversation. Lots of people came. It was available for 24 hours afterwards. What I was talking about in that is what we do within the consult. And it's really important that we do get our timings right and that we don't feel overwhelmed by the consult. But what we've also got to think about is the client when they first book in, right? So I have already talked about that flow for them and how they find you. Maybe I'll do another podcast on that coming up. But what I wanted to talk to you today about, what do you include in your welcome pack? Do you have a welcome pack? So back in the day, when I first started out, I had a welcome pack, which was a letter of introduction saying, 24 hours, cancellation time and where to find me. I even had the bus numbers in there so that they could get the bus if they needed to. There was ample on-street parking, things like that. The first line is always, thank you for putting your health first. And so that was an information letter that also had quite a bit of, the contract in there, the 24-hour thing. It had a map of how to find me, and it had a basic question and answer page. So, why did you want to come and see me? What medications have you got in the cupboard? What supplements have you got in the cupboard? What is your goal with seeing me? And what questions do you want to ask? It was it, right? 3 pieces of paper. And I posted it out. I put a stamp on it and I popped to the post box up the road and I popped it in the post box. So that's how it started. Then over the years, I wanted, so this welcome envelope then became a welcome pack when they came in to see me, and I would give them paperwork. Now, when I was first posting out that envelope, the other thing that was in there was a 7-day diet diary, because I wasn't booking anyone in to see me the next day because I was posting them the letter. Right? The letter would take, 24 hours, 48 hours to get to them. And it had a 7-day diet diary in it. Now, I realised what I found. I had a lady book in with me and she was coming in. That was one of the quick ones, but she lived locally. So I actually dropped the letter round to her house. I was driving past. And in it was the diet diary. Now, she'd phoned me and she'd booked in and she said how much she wanted to see me, and she'd known me and I vaguely knew her. And how much she wanted to book in with me, and she realised that she needed to put her health first and all these things, and her husband was totally on board and thought it was a wonderful idea, and so she was booking in with me. So she booked in like the Thursday, and this is like the Monday. So I drove past, dropped the letter, and then I had a phone call on the Tuesday. I've got to cancel. I can't see you. I just can't, I'm like, what if I do, what happened there? And then I randomly saw her in the supermarket, and she very clearly she was under eating. Okay, she was very clearly under eating. And I realized I'd been too confronting by putting that diet diary in there. So I immediately stopped sending anyone the 7-day diet diary. So people only get it in their welcome pack in the room at that first appointment. So at the end of the first appointment, then they have a selection of paperwork that they take home. And I have a file cover, a plastic file cover that I bought at a stationery shop, and it goes in there. So everything, all of these things are in the academy. So all of this paperwork is in the academy, including T's and C's and things like that. That's all in the academy for you to use, have a look at, change to the style that you want it. But my introductory, my welcome pieces of paper included the 24-hour cancellation. They included how to get to me, and they included this basic information. Now everybody books online, and it's really important people are able to book online. It would no longer be acceptable to get that letter in the post for them to bring those pieces of paper to me unless they were an elderly person. So for the elderly people, I still do this. I still post it to them because they find that really sits well with them. And of course, I still have copies because, I used to make tons of copies of them. So an elderly person is very happy to fill out the forms, but a young person wants to be able to book online and do it all online. So my online intake form is also in the academy for anyone to see and use who's in the academy. So when we have this welcome now, my welcome now, of course, is they find me online, usually through Google. They find I've got a lot of reviews, and they find me on Google, and they book in online. They fill out the intake form, right? And then they get the information, the date. They've chosen the date and the time, and I've got all their information. I then email them now a welcome pack. So I just email her, it's great, I can't wait to see you. I'll sometimes give them a call to welcome them. So it's much more relaxed now than it was because they've already done their intake. They already know when they're coming. They already have that because they have booked in and they've paid. Everyone pays before they see me. So they've paid. So they're really on board with what they're doing. Whereas back in the day, I would give them all these things first. Then at the first appointment, I always give information. I always give now their links. So I will send a link to a form I want them to fill out. I will send a link to something. I might send them a fillable form. So in 2019, I had a graphic artist go through all my paperwork, and we were creating a book so that I wasn't handing out all these separate pieces of paper to all my clients, but I was going to hand them a health book. And in that book, it was going to contain all their information because I would give people their paperwork, they put it in a plastic file, and they bring it back every week. It's a rare person that doesn't actually bring their file with them. People like these take-home nights. They like having this information. It's physical for them, and they see it and they feel it, and they get involved in their own care. And that's what you want. You want them taking it on. It's not up to me. I can tell you not to eat 10 schnitzels a week, but it's up to the person not to eat those 10 schnitzels a week. So we have to negotiate and think about alternatives and how we can change. But having these physical resources has always really helped people. And now, of course, I'm emailing these, so they're no longer physical resources. They're not printing them out. So now it's fillable forms or links to online, health reports and reviews or things like that. And I have a health report on my website which they can fill in, and I will send the link to that to people as their starter. So we know where we're starting from. We know where they're not as good. It might be their liver, or it might be their skin, or whatever it is, and we can relate all these things, their hormones, their gut health, and we've got this guide then that in 6 months' time I get them to do it again, and we've got a comparative chart to say, well, 6 months ago these areas were really bad, they've really improved, and these areas still need improvement. Now, it's really handy having these comparators, and I used to do them on physical forms, and now I do them online. But all of them are available in the Academy. So if you came to the webinar on Monday, then I will have talked about the Academy in there, and how if you join the Academy, then you get discounts to everything else that I do. So it's worth being in the academy, so that you can get the discounts. Otherwise, if you join a course, then only the graduate program, you automatically get the academy, but it's still worth joining the academy first, trust me. But with the academy, all that paperwork's there. It's all there for you, and so are the links, and we talk about these sorts of things if that's where you're at in your business at the time. So everything that we're doing in the academy is specific to you and to your needs, and then you can upgrade from there and you can do the other courses that I offer. But the starting place is the academy. So I'd love to have you in there if you're not already for all the paperwork, but if you're not and you have no interest in it, that's cool too. Please keep listening to my podcast. But hopefully you are, after this conversation, thinking about how your systems work. Are they paying before they see you? If they're not, are they leaving a deposit or a credit card details? If you've got a lot of people who aren't turning up, then they're not investing in the first place. And an investment in their health gets them to turn up. And that's where getting people to pay or give a credit card detail, having firm cancellation policies really, really helps. So we've got them in, they're going to come. What are we doing between their booking and the appointment? Are we doing anything? Are we sending them an email? Are we bothering? If I don't, it actually doesn't matter because they've got their booking time, they've filled out all the forms. At the moment they're giving me hair before they book in. So I have all these things in train. So as soon as they've booked in, I'm contacting them. But if they didn't want, or they didn't send it to me or whatever, but everything's in train. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And that's what is important for you to look at is everything in train for them? Do they know what's going to happen next and how this is all going to happen? Are they getting an email from me? And then at that first appointment, what am I going to give them? Because it might not be a prescription for a medication. It might not be a prescription for a herbal mix or a tablet or whatever it is. It might be a dietary prescription. The majority of my people get a dietary prescription at the first appointment. And paperwork to fill out. That so that they've got homework. So that because I've got the homework of them. They've just come and given me, they've just, verbally brain dumped everything in a 40-minute period, and so then I've got all of that stuff to go through, figure out. I might have to look at the medications that they're on in relation to supplements because we don't want any contraindications happening. It's why it's important for them to see us in the first place. All of these things. So I'm working out all of these things. So I've got my homework. So I give them homework so that the next time I see them, they're feeling really invested in their change. They're really feeling really invested in their future health as well because they're getting this homework. So at the first 4 appointments, they will get homework. And what is it in your welcome pack that flows into what you will be giving them at your appointments? So just have a little think about that. It's really important that we, on a regular basis, look through what people are getting. I've had some people book in to the Graduate Mastery Program before the webinar, and they got the wrong set of emails. So, of course, they emailed me and said, these dates are all 2021. I was like, oh, no, because I haven't gone through that flow and checked out that flow. So it's a really good idea for you to go through, check out that flow and see where your systems go. So that's all for me today. Thank you so much for being here. And if you've made it all the way to the end, don't forget, I'd love a 5-star review. And I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon in my groups, in Strictly Education and Support, or here on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.